Hello, everyone. We're live, and welcome to another interview on Tribal Impacts and Analytica's social advocacy series. And today we're delighted to be joined by Shoshanna Davis, Head of Thought Leadership and Employee Advocacy for Intel. So a very warm welcome, Shoshanna. It would be amazing for you to introduce yourself to the audience, tell us a bit about yourself, and also your social media journey, since this is all about social media advocacy.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. So very excited to be here today. As you said, I am Shoshanna, and I guess maybe just a little bit of background about me. So I joined Intel about 4 years ago when I actually graduated from university. I studied marketing, and I've had lots of different kind of marketing focused roles within Intel. Which has brought me to now, which is, I'm running kind of like an employee thought leadership program essentially at Intel for my division. And there's about 60 people that are part of the program. And it's been a really interesting journey. Regarding my own social media journey, it always makes me laugh when people say that. I guess I've kind of pretty much grown up with social media. So it's not like a big deal or a big thing to me, to be quite honest. But maybe in terms of the platforms that I use most, I'd probably say I'm definitely most active on Instagram, followed by TikTok at the moment. I used to be super active on LinkedIn, which I've kind of put on the back burner, which is probably not the right thing to say in a LinkedIn Live, but I'm getting back on it, which is why I'm here today.
There's a red light going off in LinkedIn right now, which is like, turn this LinkedIn Live off.
I don't think the founders are listening, but if they are, then they'll probably boot you off the platform.
No, my account's going to be blocked.
What a great way to start on LinkedIn Live. So I have to say, I think, Shoshanna, you're the first person that we've had that said that they're on TikTok. Am I right or am I wrong? I don't know, Tim.
Yeah, I think we haven't had too many people, apart from I think one person that were talking about dancing videos on TikTok, but they didn't want to go down there or go down that route.
Yeah, you moved
but
it
yeah,
off
hardly
now.
anyone. Yeah.
Don't worry, I don't do any dancing on TikTok.
What's the thinking behind Instagram and then TikTok and then LinkedIn? Because that's quite an unusual priority order, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, so I've always used Instagram just growing up just for myself in terms of a personal account. And then recently I actually created more of a business type account, which is where a lot of my colleagues from Intel follow me on. And if I'm doing anything like this, I usually post about that. Or if I'm speaking at events, I usually post about that. But then I also have a separate platform which I do on the side, which is targeted more towards graduates and young professionals and helping them. And my largest presence on that is on Instagram. So that's probably a combination of those is why I spend most of my time on Instagram. And then TikTok, I mean, who's not on TikTok these days? It's always in the news. There's always stuff about it. So I just thought, why don't I just jump on this bandwagon? And it's addictive, I tell you, trust me. Just because the videos are so short, you'll just be flipping through. You can be on there for hours.
Yeah, I have started getting a bit addicted to Instagram Reels, I have to say, which I think a lot of the TikTok videos are posted on there. So it's you could just waste an hour just going through those things.
Oh, I do. I
don't know how I've got time to waste, really. But.
So how was so when you started at Intel and you took over the employee advocacy program, I'd love to understand what the program was like when you started, and what you've done since, and all of the great stuff that I imagine has come from it.
So good question. So I've only been in the role since I joined Intel 4 years ago, but I've only been in this specific role since pretty much the beginning of the year. I've been involved with the program for a bit longer, but I'm part of the Internet of Things group at Intel. And originally the program started off in kind of like a sub-segment of the Internet of Things group, and it kind of stemmed from, and actually, to be honest, internally we wouldn't really call it employee advocacy. It's more, employee development. It's more about how can we build our employees' personal brands. This is essentially about them. It's not really about us. And then obviously, of course, once, when you have happy employees, they are more empowered to share Intel related content as well as their own. So it's more of like an employee development thing for us. But it really stemmed due to COVID, because prior to COVID, we did a lot of physical events, we did a lot of physical speakerships, and then obviously COVID happened and we couldn't do any of that. So one of my colleagues, she'd come from a previous company who'd had quite a large program like this, and she decided to essentially pitch this idea and implement it, which I was one of the core team members. She moved on at the beginning of the year, which is then I kind of took over the role. And in terms of what we've done, we've done quite a lot of things. I'm not really sure where to start, but let me think. So we've done loads of things. So originally we kicked off like a pilot, which was just a group of about 20 people, just to see how the program would work. We created a ton of resources ourselves on all things, absolutely everything, essentially for people of all different comfort levels, whether that be, how to create a LinkedIn profile, to how to post, to how to write a blog, to, I don't know, pretty much everything. We also have like our own internal training platform. So there was already specific trainings on that as well. So we did that. We host like kind of weekly sessions where people share their journeys. So like share their thought leadership journeys essentially, as well as we also give some specific training and tips and stuff like that. So we do a lot of things, but hopefully that's just a little bit of a summary.
Wow, I've written so many notes here. I know I was looking at you, but I was writing that. I probably can't read my writing now. But so you said there was a pilot, and did they all start from different levels then? Did you have some complete beginners right through to some quite advanced?
Yeah, so I guess for me, that's probably been one of the more challenging aspects, just due to the variety of everyone's comfort level. It is extremely varied. I would say that most people are beginner to kind of intermediate. We have less people that are advanced. Obviously, we have some people. So yeah, that's definitely been a challenge, figuring out, the right support that each person needs. But yeah, some people, didn't even have a LinkedIn profile, or they had a LinkedIn profile, but they hadn't posted it, or, they had one, but they didn't even have a profile picture. We had some people that post, but it's maybe like once every 6 months. And, if they do, they're kind of just sharing a link without even saying anything. And then also we have some people who are regular posters who write blogs regularly, or are like super active on Twitter and have quite a large following. So yes, that has been very interesting. Each person's journey and each person's comfort level is interesting.
So how do you manage the comms around a program like that when you've got so many different personas, and obviously Intel being such a massive corporation, and I imagine there's ambitious plans for the program, and it's very much the kind of current and future of marketing. To be able to generate employee generated content rather than just speaking from the brand. How did you approach the program communications and try to get all of the right kind of components of the program together?
That's a good question, and I'm not exactly sure, what I can say live and what I can't. But obviously, I'll just talk briefly about communicating. I guess in terms of communications, we did look at the different communication channels, because obviously, I don't know about you, I'm sure you do, but I get so many emails a day, right? So, how are we going to get the word out there? So at Intel, we use Microsoft Windows. So, we have a SharePoint site where we host all of the information and we host all the sessions we do. Of course, we have the kind of weekly and bi-weekly training sessions, so we can communicate with people though. For those, we have different checkpoints, so mid-year, quarterly checkpoints, just to see where we're at. So yeah, I don't want to say anything that I can't.
No, sure. Like, share what you're happy. I guess just from a general standpoint, there's obviously exec comms that can fit into this. There's subject matter expert advocacy. There's the wider employees, and there's also taking senior leadership with you and getting sponsors from there. And so and I was just talking about it earlier on, actually, a few hours ago, about how big employee advocacy can seem, but that if it's broken down into segments, it can seem manageable, with sort of different outcomes. And so it's just interesting to sort of know what component parts there are, and the kind of culture of the program, I guess.
Yeah, so let me have a think. I mean, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I guess for us, Tim, I guess the program that we have, it's probably maybe a little bit different to typically some of the other stuff, because like I said, it's more employee focused, it's more employee development focused. So obviously, to have the program, we had executive buy-in, right? And one of the departments that we collaborate quite closely with is our marketing team, but essentially, like, it's kind of driven by the business unit in this sense at the moment. So we have various different internal departments that we collaborate with, but essentially it's for the employees. And I was just about to say something, but I can't remember.
But
It'll
I
come
think
back.
that's amazing that you talk about it as employee development, because
Yeah.
actually I love the fact that you've just called it that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
Because
Yeah, go
no,
on.
I was just going to say, because if, to me, I think employee advocacy, it's like, I don't really like the name, to be honest, for me, because it's like, if for people to want to do something, there has to be something in it for them, right? Whereas to me, the name employee advocacy seems very company focused. Whereas, there's something in it for both of us, essentially, because obviously we're helping empower employees and build their personal brand, which they're going to reap lots of benefits from, but they happen to work for Intel. So I think it works for both. But yeah, it's very and I'll get my wrist slapped if I call it anything different, probably, as well. But no, that's very much our focus. That's what it is.
I'm loving the TikTok conversation going on the side. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I
About
can't see it. Where is
Oh,
it?
you go into the comments tab, and then people can talk to us. So you can, people can put in some comments. And Alicia says she's too old for TikTok, but I know Estefano's big into it. So, Nisha, you've said you've tried to avoid it as well. It's leaking over to Instagram, guys. So I
Yes,
don't think
it
we can
is.
avoid it. I've got a few more questions for you,
Yes.
actually, Shoshanna. What about, oh, well, first, are they technical employees that you've got on this program, or can it just be anyone in the company that wants to build an expert brand?
Yeah, so essentially it's anyone. We have a mixture of kind of technical experts, business related people, subject matter experts, etc. So it's really a mixture of everyone, essentially.
And did they come to you, or did you go to them, or was it a bit of both? So it's like, we can help.
So it's pretty much voluntary. So we have this program, we have these resources. Do you want to do this? Do you want to get your name out there and position yourself as a subject matter in your field or in an area that you're passionate about? And if you would like to, then come on board. But nobody's forced, essentially.
I've got one more question, and I'll be quiet, Tim, because they all kind of come together. So before Tim takes off in another direction. So then my final question is, does the employee come and say, it might be a topic of interest that's not relating to their job. So it might be that they're interested in diversity and inclusion, or they might be, a whiz in a certain piece of technology, or they might be, so how do you map the topics that Intel want to get their brand behind, but also the way, or do you bother mapping and you just say, do you know what, we don't care really, but obviously as long as it's not around baking and totally unrelated to a professional capacity.
So at the beginning of the year we have set specific themes for like an Intel perspective. So they're usually like, so for example, within my group, we have different industries that we focus on. So one of them is the retail industry, one of them is the banking industry. So for each of those segments, we have specific themes that we kind of lay out and we've mapped out, so that people can gain inspiration from those. And usually, that's people's job, right? So they are actually inclined to post about it because it benefits them. But also, we don't tell people what to say. We just empower them with the tools. So if you have something to say or you want to create content, this is how you can do it. These are the best practices. We can help you. But ultimately, obviously we have like rules within Intel. If you're posting something about Intel, then you have to disclose it. So we enforce that, we enforce things like that. But yeah, people are free to post whatever they want. So if somebody joins the program and they're not super passionate about IoT, but they're really passionate about, I don't know, like what you said, STEM or diversity inclusion, they can absolutely be part of the program, and we'll help them to do that, really.
Gosh, that's fabulous.
No, I think a lot of employee advocacy programs seem like they're brand focused, but someone's saying, well, how can it work for employees as well? But yours is very much, obviously it originates, with the employee at the heart of it,
And I
which
think
I
it's a
think is
lot more
fantastic.
authentic as well, because we're not pushing a narrative. We're not saying, oh, you have to post this. But if people are posting about things that they generally care about, then their name is going to get out there. And then ultimately, people are going to see that they work at Intel, right? And they're actually passionate about what they're posting about.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. And I've got a burning question, which has kind of shown up maybe Sarah's and my generation, more in that,
Okay.
we.
What are you saying?
Yeah, I have to be careful. I paused because I had to be careful about this. I'm I'm on thin ice. But what I'm interested in is Instagram, TikTok for B2B. Uh, obviously anyone coming through, you're joining Intel is going to be very, very familiar with Instagram, and that's probably going to be one of their main channels. And your B2B is quite often around LinkedIn or Twitter, or that's kind of been the legacy, obviously to a greater or lesser extent in different countries and different regions. So what do you think about Instagram and TikTok for B2B, and how much debate is there around the different channels and empowering?
Oh, good question. That's a really good question. I mean, in terms of the like training materials that we've created, they are mainly centered around LinkedIn and TikTok. We do have little bits around Instagram and TikTok, but the main ones that we focus on are LinkedIn and Twitter. For Instagram for B2B, it's very interesting. You know what? I don't know, but I know that I use Instagram a lot, and if I see something that is relevant to me when I'm scrolling from a personal side, then I'm going to follow up on that. So I don't think that's a very good answer.
Well, I think you have answered in that. Well, I mean, my feelings are, and it's just a thought, is that it's obviously in 5 or 10 years, if a lot of the people whose channels are, say, Instagram and TikTok, and they're in the key decision maker roles, and they decide to move away from LinkedIn, for example, then naturally, the end buyers are somewhere else, but obviously that's going to take time. So I feel confident that in 10 years' time, that's probably going to, just be normal. But at the moment, obviously, more senior buyers, we would say, are on LinkedIn, and a lot of the industry experts and influencers are on Twitter, and some of the key decision makers. So I don't know. It's a mix at the moment, isn't it? But it's a kind of complex mix.
Yeah, and go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, I see a lot of leaders on Instagram. So a lot of CEOs tend to be on there, because it's a culture channel, isn't it? It's a place to represent what you stand for as a person and a business. And no, go on, Shoshanna, what are you going to say?
No, I was going to say, and I kind of, well, just adding to that point, to be honest, I think LinkedIn is turning a bit more like this. But obviously, at the beginning, everyone said, oh, LinkedIn is, a professional tool. It's purely a professional tool. But as like the years and months have gone on, I'm starting to see a lot more, personal content, which for me, I love and I think is so relatable. And whenever I do post on LinkedIn, the raw, genuine content is always what does better. It's not like a wishy-washy company post. I tend to just gloss over those. So I think that's a really good point, Sarah. And I think that is why people like Instagram, but it is coming over to LinkedIn as well. And the other point I was going to say is, to Tim's point, I completely agree with what you said. Like, as time goes on and decision makers people that are now using TikTok are going to be the decision makers. But also, I think, I don't know about you, maybe it contradicts what I just said, but a lot of my LinkedIn feed at the moment, it's just all of the same stuff. Like I've seen the same polls regurgitated by about 10 different people. Whereas when it's video content, it's a lot harder to duplicate. So when I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn, I don't really see, I mean, when I'm on Instagram and TikTok, I don't see the same things because it's videos, and I find videos a lot easier to consume. So I think they are the way forward. And LinkedIn, people do post videos, but I don't think they have as much reach at the moment on LinkedIn, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah. So I think everybody watching this, expect Tim's TikTok account to be launching next week.
I just did an embarrassing. I've only done one TikTok video, and that was when my partner's nieces, her nieces roped me into it, where I just walked 10 meters and tried to sort of copy what they were doing, and that was my only ever dabble in TikTok, which is just really embarrassing.
We need to find that.
I do think there's such a misconception about TikTok though, because everyone thinks it's just dancing videos, but it's not. There's loads of educational content on there. There's like teachers that are sharing with other teachers how they plan their lessons and how they set up their classroom. There's people like me in my spare time. I share career content. So for young professionals, like how can you develop your career? So it's not just dance videos. I think it was at first, but now it's a whole variety of things.
Yeah, I think you're bang on with the education element, and it's got such a big part of TikTok. And actually, you talked about you've been very successful at building community. I know that that's in a kind of a non-work capacity. Could you talk a bit about like how you achieve that? Because I think you achieved a community of 7,000 graduates and young people in 6 months. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, yes, I believe so. I'm guessing you got that from my LinkedIn. I need to update it. It's now, I think, 10,000, but yeah.
So you achieved that in 6 months, and then now it's grown to even more. So you obviously have used social channels to really build community, and whether this is in business or outside of business, it's about building social community, and I think that is an amazing thing that you've done there. And I would love to hear some just how you did that and some tips.
Yeah, so I guess in terms of, well, maybe in terms of tips, I mean, I think for me, I would say the one thing that's been really important to me and the one thing where I really saw growth is consistency. So I said to myself, like, look, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to post every day and see what happens. And once you're in the rhythm, it's really easy, but consistency is so important. And I try to tell people this a lot at Intel, because a lot of people are posting for the first time and then they're wondering like, oh, why didn't my post go viral? And yes, that does happen to some people, but for most people it just doesn't happen, and you do need to be consistent. And over time, and also the algorithms pick up, right, that you're posting consistently, so they favor your content, especially if you're posting at the same time of day. They feed off of that and they're likely to show your content to more people. So I think consistency for me, and I don't know if you know her, she's called Patricia Bright. She's like a businesswoman, and she started off as like a beauty influencer. She did a podcast episode with Stephen Bartlett, which I was listening to, and it was how she was talking about her road to like 1 million followers. And it took her 7 years of posting every single day. And looking at her page now, you just never think that. But that, to me, that's what consistency is. And I think it's a long game essentially. So I think my top tip would be consistency. My second tip would be really understanding like what your audience actually want. So one of the main things I do is I have a content plan. I map out all my posts. After each post, I'll record the engagement, views, etc. And then when I'm looking for future content ideas, obviously I have that data. So from that, I can pull out the key themes that perform best. And then, of course, continue to serve that content. So I think that's another really important thing as well. And I'm trying to think of something else. I think probably those are my two main tips.
I love we had one other person, I think Ben Arnold from Oracle, who recorded all the stats on each one of his posts in a majorly analytical way, but has built community as well, and is doing very, very well. So there's something about the planning and the content plan and knowing what performs better and and less well, because being creative and analytical and being able to plan is a pretty potent mix when you're building content platforms and community.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree.
I was just thinking on that consistency, because a lot of people will say, how often should I post? When should I post? And I'm thinking, well, how much time can you give to it? Because really, if you can do once a week, it's better that you do it once a week if that's what you've got time for, rather than every day for 1 week and then you forget about it for 6 months. So I think you've absolutely hit on a point there about consistency.
And also, I feel like what a lot of people forget is you can actually schedule your posts. So you can get like Hootsuite for free, and you can schedule all your LinkedIn posts. Take like a day to just schedule everything for the next month, and then it just pops it out for you. And all you need to do is the engagement on your post. Obviously, you may want to change a few things. There is going to be some variation because the stuff that you're posting about, you do want it to be topical. But, I know a lot of people that do that and it works really well for them. So you don't have to physically post every day. You can schedule it.
That's a great tip. And your point, Tim, about being creative but also having appreciation, analytical and creative at the same time to really understand. I did want to just jump back to something you said earlier, actually. Sorry, I'm sort of jumping around all the time. But you say about, you enable people to create their own content and show them how and that. But do you, in marketing, actually help them? So is there a little bit of budget that you put alongside to help them write, to help them create, to help them, or is it just enablement? How does that work?
So obviously we have a marketing team and we work closely with them on certain things. At the moment, there's no specific budget behind. We don't write things for other people because, again, it comes back to the authenticity. I personally can tell when something is written by someone else, and it's just not what we're after. The type of things that we maybe might invest in and we are willing to invest in is, for example, as we're coming back to COVID or as virtual events have risen, we know that probably our employees are going to be doing a lot more speakerships. Can we invest in them to have, some speech training or public speaking training and stuff like that? Or we have a completely employee-led podcast we have called To the Edge and Beyond, and we work with a production company that produces that. And obviously there's some investment behind that, but no, we don't write things for other people.
Oh, that's great. No, and it comes back to the authenticity word, which I'm so glad you said, because we have one of those people say that every single time. That's what we like.
It's a bit like a bingo moment. We always say, so we needed some prop to ring a bell, or
I'm going to get a bell
every time someone says it. See how many times it's mentioned in each interview. I guess what I'm fascinated by is because you said that the future is video, or obviously video content performs better than just text posts. And when Sarah and I have done a lot of work in B2B tech, and sometimes the content is a bit boring. Sometimes it needs to be animated, and really large companies obviously produce a lot of branded content. You've got a wonderful employee development program. How do you bring technical experts into create video content? Is that one of the key focuses on empowering them?
It's so I guess so one of the things we do is obviously we are encouraging people to create video content. We give them the figures. This is what's performing best. These are the best practices. These are the tools that we have. These are the tools that you can use. We do that, and actually no, and we are kind of because the production company that we actually work with, they have a tool which is like a studio tool, where you can record 60-second sound bites essentially, and you click submit, and then once you click submit, they edit them for you. They can put the Intel logo if you want, and if you don't want it, then you can't. So we have things like that. But did I answer your question? I
think that studio tool is a really, really good idea, and I think that I know from just our own experience. I think getting people might have things to say and then they've worked it out, but then to create a video and to publish it on social, and for that to be something that people are happy with, that the brand follows the brand guidelines and everything like that, is sometimes a step too far for a lot of people. So it doesn't need to be professionally produced, but actually you put something on where I imagine they're quite proud of the outcome. after they've done that
Yeah, and
60
also
seconds.
for them, it's like it's relatively effortless because all they need to do is log onto this tool, click record, click submit, and then it just gets sent somewhere where it essentially edits it to them, and they get sent it back and they can do it. That's just one option. Of course, they can use their phone, etc., but that's been a tool that's been really good, especially, for example, we have different themes or we have different key events that we might be attending. On this tool you can also you can invite people. So I could have like a question like, what are you most looking forward to about attending, I don't know, Money 2020? And I could send it to like 5 or 10 people to then record their response. And then when they click yes, it then goes and gets edited. And obviously it has the question box that they're answering. So that you can do like quite good event promo as well. Obviously people, don't have to, but people quite like doing it as something new. And when the videos have been posted on LinkedIn, they've done quite well because it's just something a little bit different.
Yeah, social content is, I think it's going to be huge actually, creating and repurposing content for social channels that's engaging, authentic, real, by real people, not
Mm-hmm.
some paid for voice or over or something like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
fascinating.
But
Yeah.
I really love the fact that you can ask a question to a few people and they can easily engage with it, and then it becomes social content because everyone's happy to have a conversation just like this. I mean, if we weren't live, then we could just have a nice conversation. But turning
Mm-hmm.
that into content is always tricky.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine this is absolutely perfect with this frictionless model.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I really like the tool.
So, so what about you? Going back to you and your, what can you tell? Because the folks that are watching this, and also, by the way, if you've got a question for Shoshanna, just pop it in the comments. But what's your routine? What's your typical? Do you schedule things for the week, month ahead, and then you focus on engagement? Where do you find your content inspiration as an individual?
So, I sound like a massive hypocrite. At the moment, I'm not actually scheduling anything. I keep telling myself I need to because I'm wasting so much time posting on multiple channels, but I'm not. I think just for me, because I've not found the right content scheduling tool. Because at the moment, to my knowledge, there's not a tool out there that schedules on LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok in one tool. I've not found it. If I can, then please tell me and I'll schedule away. But I've not found it. But in terms of like my social media routine, in the morning I usually dedicate like about 20 minutes just to like engaging with different accounts and individuals within my niche, and also like replying to comments and stuff like that. I then usually post, this isn't on LinkedIn, this is more Instagram. Just in case anyone goes on my LinkedIn profile, you only posted once last week. I usually post every day at the same time at about 1 p.m. At the moment I'm kind of just experimenting what times actually work best for me. And Instagram is a bit of a tricky one because even when I experiment, it doesn't seem like there's much consistency at the moment. I don't know if it's just me, but I usually post at 1 p.m. every day. And on a Sunday evening is when I kind of plan all my content for the week. I kind of map out my content calendar. I'm looking at, what's performed well previously, what is topical right now. So obviously, I think topical things are actually really good. For example, last week and even at the moment, everyone's talking about Squid Games, and I actually haven't watched it, so I couldn't do any content on it because it wouldn't be authentic. But if I had have watched it, that would have been a perfect example of something I could have created. So usually I'm kind of looking at what topical as well that I can integrate. So yeah, I create all my content on Sunday evening, then I post it. And obviously then I'm, like I said before, I'm tracking the metrics and I'm tracking the data. I think you also asked about in terms of like content inspiration, Sarah. So I think, yeah, there's a few things. So I would say I really like what's it called? I really like Answer the Public. I don't know if you know that.
Yes, that's
It's
a good
so good.
website.
You can like type in any topic and it tells you like this is what people are searching. So there's so many content ideas within that. Like if you can't think of anything to write about, go on Answer the Public, type in, I don't know, retail technology, and it comes up with like the most common questions about that topic that have been asked by Google, and you create content on that. So I think that's really good. And I also quite like Google Trends as well. It's slightly similar. but obviously it's owned by Google, so it may be a bit more accurate. So I really like those. I think those are my content inspirations, as well as places just like Twitter and social media in itself, right? Because you can see what's trending, what's current, and get ideas from that as well.
Oh, lots of tips.
I tell you what I love about your perspective is that it feels very real, and you know what works and what doesn't because you live and breathe social media, rather than I think someone learning social media and trying to run a program, from a brand's perspective, which just has a very different feel to what you're doing. You're finding the really cool tools that create content and develop employees, and coming at it from a really nice angle. So I think that's really good to see, and it's sometimes different from other wonderful guests that we've had on, but are just coming from a different place, and sometimes the culture of their programs that they've inherited are just different, and they got different challenges.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's good. But I think that's because one of the questions we were going to ask you is when did you have your breakthrough moment on social media? But you said very much at the start, I've kind of grown up with this stuff, I've not known any different. But there must have been a point though when you thought, hold on, social for like outside of work, and there's a different side to social in the workplace, or not? How did that work? How you made the bridge?
Do you know what? Again, I've been using LinkedIn for a really long time. I've been using LinkedIn, well, not a really long time actually, but I've been using LinkedIn since I was like in my first year of university, which actually wasn't that long ago. But I think for most people, they don't start using LinkedIn until they're working.
Yeah.
So and LinkedIn's a relatively new platform, right? So I've seen the platform grow, I've seen the platform develop. I know all the different features, so it's just I kind of back to again. I feel like I have honestly grown up with it.
Who was it that we spoke to before, Tim, that used LinkedIn at university? Because you're absolutely right, Shoshanna, that most people do think, oh, right, I've got to get a job now, I better get on LinkedIn. But they didn't. Who was that? I can't remember that we spoke to. Can you remember?
But there was. I'm just trying to think of her name. It's on the tip of my tongue. But you mean how she used it to basically find the right companies for her?
Yeah, and get her
LinkedIn.
first role. First role. She was on it from the start.
Yeah, for my like outside of work stuff, this is literally what I preach to everyone. I think obviously this isn't super relevant. It's kind of relevant to B2B, but like LinkedIn is so amazing, and I just talk about it all the time because I can't think of before LinkedIn, how on earth would you have found me? How would you you can contact anyone at any single company anywhere in the world. You can find out where they work, what their name is. You can message them. It's amazing, honestly. That's what I say that to everyone. And even just the way you can find people, like if I'm working with like a graduate who can't find a job, I'm just like, look, go onto your university's LinkedIn page, click alumni, type in marketing or type in the company that you want to work for. It's going to bring you up like 50 search results of alumni that work at this company that you want to work at. Go and contact them because you already have something in common with them, and they're probably going to want to help you. It's just amazing, honestly, in that sense. I think it's so great. And you can also do that from a B2B side, but authentically, because I get way too many spam LinkedIn emails and I ignore them because they're annoying.
There you go. I think you've just won some points with LinkedIn after we first started.
That's true.
The LinkedIn office has calmed down now. They're just all back to normal.
So I love what you said then. Just interestingly, in your first year of uni, what made you create a LinkedIn account when other friends of yours didn't?
Good question. I just was reading, I heard about it, I heard that it was like the professional platform that you needed to be on, and I guess this is a bit personal, but like I didn't do that well at school because I didn't really enjoy it, so I got into university through clearing because I didn't have the grades. Kind of from the beginning, I felt that I needed to overcompensate if I was gonna do anything with my life, essentially. So I was always very on it and proactive. And it really actually worked for me because when I was in my final year, I was getting found by recruiters about all of these jobs. And like, got invited to interviews at like Amazon, Facebook, and got offers, etc. Just literally, and I wasn't even posting at that point. I just had a profile and it said open to recruiters. And I genuinely don't think many people my age, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago, by the way, but I just don't think many people my age had that. So I think that was what inspired me, the fact that I, needed to do something to make myself stand out.
That is a fabulous story. Oh, thank you for sharing that, because I don't think many people, I think that's really inspiring for others. And look at this now, you're in a role where you are helping other people to build their brand and see the potential that comes with it.
Yes.
That's, it's kind of led you to the role that you're in. That's incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
Love it.
Amazing. So
yeah,
I think you've obviously used it really successfully, and I think that probably more people. I imagine it's taught within universities that they need to get on LinkedIn a bit earlier now, that it's more of a content platform. But so I imagine that there'll be more user adoption of the platform at an earlier age. But it's surprising that you were one of the only people of your peers to do that, and kudos to you, because you've obviously put in the right keyword search terms to be found, and quite often that's part of the key, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe we're going slightly off topic. If we are, then just pull me back in the right direction. But like what you said, I think it is taught more at university to go on LinkedIn, but like it's not taught how to use it properly, I don't think, because a lot of the people, and which is why I do my stuff on the side, but a lot of the people that are in those positions, they've not been looking for a job for several years, or they've been out of the industry for 10 plus years. So it's like they know that you need to be on LinkedIn, but they're not necessarily as up to date as to what you do with it. And I think that's why I do what I do.
Amazing.
It is. It's a really good story. What advice would you give to someone? So going back to your thought leadership enablement type role and how you support employee development, what advice would you give to someone maybe that's watching this that you think, I've always wanted to step into that. I engage on LinkedIn. I've got a good network. I'd love to start creating my own content, but, don't know anything. I don't know what to say. I'm worried people might pick me apart. What would your bit of advice be?
Oh, I mean, for the what people worried they might pick me apart, I think that's something that everyone thinks, but just who cares? People, I like to think if people have something negative to say, then you're clearly doing something right. And also a lot of the time the people that have negative things to say, they're not your target audience, so who cares what they say? Some of my friends don't understand why I'm doing what I do, but they're not my target audience, so it doesn't really matter to me obviously I care what my friends think, but you know what I mean, they're not who I'm targeting. But I guess if it's someone just starting out, obviously everybody has their own comfort levels depending on their background. So I would say start small is a good thing, even if it's just setting up your LinkedIn profile, or maybe identifying some thought leaders to follow in your industry, and even just commenting on their posts, because even just commenting on their post, that can be super impactful, because if you can comment on someone's post and leave a really, insightful thought or add a unique perspective, and other people see that, then they're going to want to follow you and they're going to want to connect with you. So you don't have to just be posting right away. So I would say start small. And I think with that, comfort kind of comes over time. But whatever you choose, just be consistent at it. And I think a good example is there's someone in my program at Intel, and obviously COVID happened, and he's never been confident with public speaking, but he was confident with writing. So he started writing blogs and white papers, and they actually got picked up by Intel for being really valuable. And then he got invited to become press trained, and within that press training involved like public speaking training and stuff like that. And of course now he's confident in public speaking and he does it all the time. So just from that, he's now able to overcome his fear. And I think the final thing I would say is a lot of the people that I speak to at Intel, they compare themselves to other people. And I always say, don't compare your day one with somebody else's day 5,000 or 500, because just because someone has loads of followers, they could have been doing it for 7 years, like Patricia Bright, you don't know. And don't let that stop you, because I do feel like social media can be quite an overwhelming place. And, some people, especially when they post, like I said before, they're like, oh, why didn't it go viral, etc. But it doesn't really matter, I would say, at the beginning. Even if one person liked your post, like that's one person that you helped or that found valuable, and that's better than zero if you're not posting at all. So obviously metrics are important, but I think at the beginning, don't get too caught up in them, because they can be vanity metrics, right? Just because you have a million followers doesn't mean a million people are going to engage with your post, or a million people are interested in your post. It's always a lot less percentage, and sometimes the people with less followers, they have a lot more of an engaged community, and that's actually a lot more effective. So that would be my top tips, I think.
Yeah, I think that's really good inspiration. And even if you get 0 likes, people have still viewed it. Sometimes it's just the lurkers, and there's actually quite a lot of them around, or more than people think. Alicia left a comment. She said that LinkedIn was never mentioned once at her business management university course, but she went to university 15 years ago, I think. So no, I'm joking, Alicia. I'm
I was
joking.
going to say,
I'm
you just
joking.
roasted her on LinkedIn Live.
I'm joking. I thought I'd just spice it up a bit.
I love
No,
that. She's
Alicia.
pressing the cancel button now.
Alicia's
She is
only a
Yeah,
couple of
happy
years,
unfollow, unsubscribe.
out of university. Anyway, so I think we probably have to wrap up there, because we've been 45 minutes chatting already, but it's been amazingly inspirational. Shoshanna, thank you so much for coming on. I really love the name of your program and the focus. I think that has just fueled all of the conversation. Really enjoyed chatting to you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, it's been really good. And I think Tim wants to wrap it up before the 2-minute delay when the next comment comes in from Alicia. So I think he wants to
waiting for it.
Thank you so much, Shoshanna. Thank you ever so much. It was brilliant.
You.
Thank you so much.
Care.
And
Bye-bye.
if you want, well, I was just going to say, if you want to get any more resources from Analytical Tribal Impact, then go to our website, and you got a lot more content that you can download, or other interviews that we've done as well. So thank you, Shoshanna.